Dark greetings, fellow citizens. Today's classic is actually 30 years old right about now, yet this reissue won't be out for yet another week. But because it's no reason to delay and I figured out this would be perfect timing for this month's classic, let's do it right now. This one is from United States and the band is called Winter. And not only that, this is more than just one release. This actually has the Eternal Frost EP with the Into Darkness CD. So it's two reissues basically, with just one set of covers. One cool looking digipack with kind of a very dark black and white design released by SWAT Records. As you can see, this is kind of a thick book and I'm gonna show you the booklet in a bit. But before you go and shout it,
it's already been out for quite a while.
Yes, it has. Various reissues already been out, but not until this time they both have this kind of a noir feeling. And now it's officially 30 years of age, being out since 1990. Now, Winter started in New York City, New York State, United States of America, already in 1988. Which makes it a real doom death veteran that is even older than bands like My Dying Bride and Anathema, among others, maybe Paradise Lost, which then again started to blend doom metal and death metal together, but rather gothic, British way. Now, Winter, all the way from United States and all the way from New York City, was ahead of their time in a ways, because couple of years head start made it possible that this album was already out when those British bands were just putting their instruments in the rehearsing room and figuring out what kind of music they want to play. And as it was in 1990, this album came out presenting you some 45 minutes of heaviness. That is music that is nowadays referred as death and doom. Now, there are lots of elements from other genres too, one could say, because it's not really the kind of a gothic darkness which is present here with Into Darkness, but this is more kind of a crusty, and one could even say very much in debt to Celtic Frost early material, or Hellhammer in that respect as well. And why so? Well, I'll try to explain. But as you can see, here is all the material, some very cool throwback posters and images to go with this booklet, so it's really worth your money. Let's take a look at the band's Metal Archive site, which is right here. I'm gonna zoom a little bit so you can probably try to read it. So here you have 1988, started, and only a few years later they call it quits. Came back for a few years, but then again nothing really happened in terms of releases. Now this Into Darkness has been released in quite a few times. If you look at the other versions, you'll see quite a list. Tapes, vinyl, CDs, obviously. Some are more limited than the others, and some are remastered like this one, as well as the 2008 release by Metal Mind. So different versions come out, and not everything, each of these copies include this Eternal Frost MCD. And as you can see, Eternal Frost was released in 1994 when the band was already gone. And as such, both these discs, pretty much have the same kind of music. That is, they're both the type of doom death metal, which is, very close to each other. One could even say they're very much like one album and the son of the album, because the style is very same. Even both of these actually have two instrumental tracks, and the style is very, very similar in style. Style being doom death metal. Curiously enough, some of these review scores differ from quite a bit, And it's interesting considering, in my opinion, the quality-wise they are pretty close to each other, way closer than what you would expect from here, but obviously that's just a matter of taste. Now, since these times the band has more or less gone into oblivion, but there's a track called Goden, and actually there's a name of that there's a band with that name that is going to be out in par with Winter, and coincidentally there are some similar members, some same members of the band, so it's kind of interesting to see how that sounds. I'm gonna take a look at that a little bit later date. Now, what makes Winter so interesting, as it says here, doom and death metal, is that, like I said, it differs from these British bands, you know, Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride and Anathema especially. While they were more kind of a gothic, more dramatic, more, in a ways, more kind of a British in style, more European in general, whereas this was something that was totally something different. Very Celtic Frost-like riffs, and even the vocals are kind of similar, yet they are definitely more growly than with Celtic Frost and Hellhammer style of being kind of a raspy black metal, not shrieky, but still different. I don't even know the proper word. I'm not native English speaker, as you can pretty much understand. I don't know what is the word, how to describe it fully, but this is definitely on the death metal side. And it is also reflected with the production values, if we can call these kind of a homebrew sound like that, because this is more musty, more moldy, much more like, you know, late 80s, early 90s death metal sound. So it's kind of a very death-like smell with the sound. Not exactly raw or thin like so many black metal releases, but more just kind of a moldy, kind of a, as if you're digging up in a cellar or something like that. But what really makes Winter more interesting is not only that they were before other bands, but the fact that they actually managed to put these slow tempo parts and this kind of a lazy style in a way together with, you know, these death metal parts, where other bands from death metal scene were more like trashy and kind of a high tempo or up tempo in general. Winter was kind of like slowing down all the time, and still when you hear those kind of palm muted riffing, you're very much, okay, this is so heavy, even if the production is not the heaviest of, you know, of different styles out there. It's still, you kind of like give you the slow motion, moshing, headbanging parts, and it's something different. I remember when I heard this for the first time, I think it was probably late 90s, and when I was listening to this, I was like, okay, this is different. This is nothing like I've heard before, even though I probably heard like bands like My Dying Bride and Anathema years before Winter, but still it was something different, like a missing link in evolution. So Winter did it in a nice, cool way that no other bands really managed to copy, or maybe even didn't even try to. It's like a one-of-a-kind band with one-of-a-kind release, much like Burzum is to black metal. You can find similar bands, but they're not too similar. So it's kind of a, you know, standing out from the rest in a rather cool way. So now that this is 30 years old, I think this is very, very nice way to celebrate this anniversary. I mean, just the sheer thickness of this booklet is something that you can pretty much smell the years gone by. And not to mention this cool packaging, you know, with these CDs that are very much there to kind of have you with the old school feeling, even though the packaging is very modern in a ways and not so colorful as it used to be. So in my opinion, having had the original one at some point, not the original one, but the earlier version anyway, I think this is definitely the version you're gonna have. And in case you still haven't even heard the band before, well, you just do your clickety-click work and open it on Bandcamp, for instance. Maybe you go on YouTube, but you go for a listen. You give this one a spin and just enjoy these veterans of doom death metal combo. and you will understand why this album is so goddamn important, not only in its own genre, but in general. Winter is here to make an everlasting impact. Enjoy, and thank you for watching.